So, hi everybody, and thank you to Lisa Richards for joining us today as our guest. And we'll just jump straight in. So, hi Lisa.
Good morning, Marie. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fantastic, thank you, and thank you for joining us. So, tell us, Lisa, who you are and what do you do?
My name is Lisa Richards and I'm a grief specialist. That means I'm not a counsellor, but I'm more of an educator, and I help people. I offer a service that when you lose something or someone through some sort of life event, whether it be bereavement, whether it be relationship breakup, redundancy, pet loss, anything that you can name that you may feel upset and bereft, really, that's what I do, and I help people get through that and know that there is a life after loss and you can thrive, not just survive.
And it's great to have somebody to actually help you through that process. So I think the work you do is very commendable.
Thank
But
you.
how did you get into this changing career? And because I know about your family history, but it'd be really interesting for our audience to hear a bit more about how that's all come about.
Thank you for asking. It came about through personal circumstances mainly. I have been through a series of quite significant life events that changed my life. The first one being that sadly my mom tried to end her own life when I was 19. And I'm sure you can imagine the profound effect that had, not just on me, but on my family, to the point where at the time it happened, which was in the 1980s, we didn't know what to do. So we carried on. There wasn't really any alternative. The thing was, because she didn't actually die, she damaged her brain to the point where she couldn't function and she had to be cared for 24/7. So my dad left work and he cared for her until she died, which was 11 years ago. And then my mum sadly died again in 2011. So for me, physically, she died in 1986.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, mentally she died and physically she died in 1986. But the physical body died in 2011. But every day she was a living reminder of what happened. And that is a very difficult thing to kind of live with, really. So I ignored it and I ran from it and I did everything that I could to blot it out almost. So I focused on work and I threw myself into work. I was an urban designer. I worked for public sector for 25 years, helping people do better developments in the planning authority, until I had a nervous breakdown. Well, I had a nervous breakdown when I was 27. That was the weight of the grief that I was trying to carry with me. I was trying to escape, and sadly it caught up with me. And from that day forward, I took a journey, and step by step I have come through that journey, recovered from the grief that I had. And that's all down to something called the grief recovery method, which I discovered in 2017 through a Wellbeing at Work event, amazingly enough. It was strange because I got talking to this lady who, because there weren't that many people there, she came up to speak to me and she explained what she did and she told me her story and I burst into tears.
Oh dear.
At which point I told her I was a survivor and I didn't do things like that. She just smiled very kindly and she said, "We probably need to talk a little bit more, don't we?" And I said, "Yes, but I've got to go back to work now." And slowly I realized that this program that she taught, as I say, it's not counseling, it's not therapy, it's an educational program based on positive actions. So the specialist guides you through the actions to take. It's a very personal journey because it's about you, it's about your relationships. And I did that. I worked through it to the point where I thought, there's something in this. And long ago, when I had my first nervous breakdown when I was 27, I promised myself that if I ever recovered, I would try and help other people. So that's actually what I'm doing now. People were so kind in helping me with my journey and learning that I realize it's now my turn to help other people. So that's really what this is about. It's something that I totally believe in because I've been through it. I've recovered. I've let my pain. You never forget the memories of what happened. You let the pain go and you let the sadness go. So that's why I can speak about it freely today to you and to anybody else. I've given interviews about it, and I'm very happy to do so.
It's very commendable as well what you're doing, Lisa. I can understand totally where you're coming from. So I lost my mum, just over 5 years ago now. And I wish I'd have known that there was people like you around. And I know we're going to touch on that in a bit more detail later on. So yes, I can totally understand. But what do you think is the biggest challenge for people that are trying to overcome grief? And how can people move on positively?
That's a great question. I can only really answer from my own personal experience because each person's grieving experience is unique, and that's what we do teach in grief recovery. I would say for me it's perhaps fear of not knowing what's going to happen, fear of admitting that you're struggling and you want some help and asking for help, and fear of that judgment and possibly being seen as weak, and the stigma that might go with that. Whilst there is a more open culture, mental health first aid is obviously gaining emphasis in the workplace. I think there is still a long way to go, especially when it comes to grief, which is a very misunderstood topic. And people don't really know what specifically. They know they've lost somebody, but they don't quite know why it is that they're stuck, why it is that they can't move forward. And I think that's really what we help do. It's not just about discovery, which counselling does. We look at those things and we affect recovery from them. So it's a very, very positively based, very structured program. It's helped thousands of people. But what's nice is it is bespoke because it's about your relationships and your life.
That's lovely. And I can imagine doing what you do. I mean, it's quite an emotional roller coaster, the emotions that you're dealing with your clients. But how do you maintain positive well-being doing what you do? I find that fascinating.
It can be tough because people are downloading to you on a regular basis. And yes, having been through that journey, I can stand in that place with them because it's quite a lonely place, and I can empathize because I've been on a similar journey, not the same journey, but I've been on a similar journey, so I can hold their hand. And yes, that really does affect me because I do care. So self-care, I know it's everybody's kind of buzzwords at the moment, but self-care is really, really important. I do yoga every morning. I do a yoga and meditation practice, and I do positive affirmations because I feel I need to start in the right frame of mind. If I am well, applying your own face mask on an aeroplane, if I can apply my own face mask and be okay, I can help other people to do the same. So that's really, really important. So exercise, walking, swimming, cycling is one I've really enjoyed recently, and swimming in the sea. I've been swimming in the sea a lot recently, which has been fantastic. So that's been great. But yes, having time away, downtime, to just spend away with your family or away just with your own thoughts, and being aware that maybe sometimes you get that overwhelmed feeling. And if you do, then that's where the time that you need some time to yourself. I know that can be very, very difficult sometimes, but I think if you can slot it in very purposely, so
Yeah.
that's why I do the yoga practice every morning, because that's my time for me, and my family know that. So it's hard to begin with, but if you can just, even just a few minutes a day, just sit and just be mindful of your thoughts, I think that really helps.
Yeah, totally understand where you come from there, Lisa. I also do yoga for exactly the same reasons as you. And it's really important to understand, isn't it, how the physical well-being can massively impact on your mental well-being. So the fact that you do all the physical things that you do as well can obviously help with your self-care. So
Very much so.
just to go back to what we were saying about when you lost your mum, I'm interested to know, what's your thoughts about the sort of support now compared to what happened when you sort of lost your mum the first time round? Do you think there's been many changes?
I think there has. I think they're very positive changes, and I absolutely welcome them, because there are a lot of people out there who are struggling with feelings that are going in a downward spiral. And when that happens, there may be addiction, there may be mental issues, there may be a whole host of things, but eventually it comes down to that place where you decide, sadly, where you want to live or die. And having experienced it myself, so that's what happened with my mom. And sadly on one Friday many years ago, I had the exact, well, no, I couldn't be sure of the exact same feelings. I had similar feelings where I felt, do I really want to live with this pain all my life? No, I don't. So what am I going to do about it? And I chose to live because, to me, suicide wasn't the answer. I'd seen what suicide had done to our family, and it wasn't good. So to me, the path less trod, yes, it's hard, but actually asking for help, it may be the hardest thing you ever do, but that's a very, very positive step. And I look back and think, yes, that was the benchmark. Things will never be as bad as that.
Yeah.
Okay. But in terms of the help available today, there was very little in the 1980s to help me and my family. And it perhaps even less because she didn't die, so she wasn't a suicide statistic.
Yeah.
So that would have potentially triggered, like it does today, help and support from the authorities, whether it's through the NHS, that whole sort of network is there. The difficulty, I think, is ongoing care. And my thoughts are really, we have to perhaps shift the balance to educate people to empower themselves to, to be more positive, to be able to be more resilient, because at the moment things in society, they look around and they conspire against them. People are very unfavorably comparing themselves on social media and all those things. And that's really hard. We're not grateful for the things that we have, and we have some amazing things, and that gratitude, I think, is key. So yes, it's much better these days, but there's still more to do.
Yeah, I would completely agree on a number of your points there, Lisa. So when I had my poor mental health and I got to the point where I was thinking about taking my own life, and I had a conversation with my son, and I don't know why, but that was a pivotal point for me, and I sort of had to decide what my purpose was, but it was ultimately about taking responsibility for my own well-being.
Yes.
And I think, yes, I had lots of help from lots of people, but ultimately it was for me to take responsibility and make positive changes. And I totally get everything that you're saying there. But so if somebody was coming to you as a client, then can you tell me a bit more about what the grief recovery method is all about, and a bit more about the background of where it's come from? That'd be really interesting.
Initially, when somebody approaches me, I try to make them an appointment. So I try to make them a space where I can fully listen to them, and that's the key to begin with. People have to acknowledge that there may be a problem and ask for help. I'm here and I will make them a space. So I usually book a free session to listen and see that if I can help them. That's the first thing. I explain to them what grief recovery is. If they think that I'm just going to sit there and listen to them, it's not the program for them. Really.
Okay.
It's a very two-way, it's a very interactive thing. So there are 7, if you do it as an individual, there are 7 sessions of an hour each week, and to do the whole thing, you need to attend the whole program.
Yeah.
And it's making that investment of time and money to recover yourself. So each week we will go through things like what the definition of grief is, what the myths of grief are, because we have been educated with misinformation. And so if we're given the right information, we can then make the right decisions. And I think that's really the what I'd like to get over to people, that time doesn't heal all wounds. You know, grieving alone isn't the thing to do. But that's what we're taught from our parents. And I'm not saying my parents were wrong. They were just misinformed themselves.
Yeah.
I think this is where the whole sort of mysticism about grief has come from. So the grief recovery method was actually devised by a griever for grievers. So the life experience and things that the author John W. James found helpful, and I'll just show you the book. It's called The Grief Recovery Handbook, and anybody can get hold of it through Grief Recovery UK, and we can put the links on. You can actually just read that. You can buy it simply, you can read it, and you can take yourself through it.
Yeah.
The problem is most people who buy, dare I say it, self-help books, read it and then don't do the actual positive, the action bit. Yeah. That's why there are specialists available to walk through with you, to guide you to make those right choices. And it's structured, it's licensed by an overarching organisation. I am one of several specialists, but we all bring something new to it. It's been in this country for about 10 years. Grief Recovery UK is the overarching organisation. But in America, which it was where it originated from 40 years ago, can you believe that? That book is in its 20th edition.
Really?
Yeah. So they've had thousands of people use the method, and they've used the feedback, the testimonials, to then try to show people, look, this is lived experience that's helping other people live through their experience. And I try to focus on the life afterwards. What are you going to do when you can let this grief go?
Yeah.
You can live with joy. You can survive, not just survive, thrive.
Yeah.
You can enjoy your life. And that's what I try to put over in sessions like this. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. So I'm interested. I can imagine the job that you do is massively rewarding. Can you give me a time of what you felt is most rewarding in doing the job that you do? Has there been a pivotal point with a particular client, or what do you get out of it, and what's been your best experience in doing your job?
Wow. All the clients that I work with have been special in their own way, and I could probably bore the pants off you with with what was really special. And I suppose what I like about my job is that I walk with people, I feel their pain, I care what happens to them, and the reward, the payback for me is to see that transformation when they finally finish the program and feel lighter because of it. There was one perhaps real standout for me, a gentleman who was in his 70s, who I met at a time when he was really struggling. He had lost his wife. He was barely living. He had to stop his job. He was living with his sister, and he had literally no money. And at the time, so it was my pilot group program actually, and I said to him, look, if you came on it, I think you'd benefit, and I really need the practice, so let's work with one another and do a win-win. If you come on the program, I won't expect any money, but if you feel that you've benefited, then please pay me what, you know, I would have asked.
Yeah.
He went through the program, he paid me in full, which was fantastic.
Brilliant.
And I, not that I thought no more about it, obviously he went back to his life, and I thought about him from time to time. But about a year ago, he phoned me to say, I just thought I'd share this news with you, that I have met somebody.
Oh.
And I feel so happy that I've met this person. But not only that, I've decided that we're going to get married. So I've got engaged. And I just wanted to tell you because you helped me to get to this position. So that was a wonderful thing.
How lovely is that? And it just shows that life can begin again, regardless of your circumstances and your age.
Yeah.
How lovely is that?
That really made me smile for a long time. Because that really is, it's not the magic, it's hopefully the care and the passion that I put into it, that hopefully I then see that transformation, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think you're a very special person, Lisa, to do what you do. But I am interested, who inspires you? You know, have you been inspired before by somebody that's actually thought, wow, I'm going to sort of follow in their footsteps? Or is there somebody that inspires you now?
There are lots of people that have inspired me over the years, both professionally and personally. The one that stands out for me more recently and is still alive is a lady called Angela Samata. Okay. You may not know of her, but she made a program for the BBC called Life After Suicide. It was probably aired about 4 or 5 years ago on BBC One, and I caught it just by chance. But it changed my perspective on things quite radically. To begin with, she connected with me straight away because of her story. Her story was that she sadly lost her husband to suicide. That raised an awful lot of questions within her mind. When it happens, you know, why didn't I see? What could I have done differently? All those kind of things go through your mind. And she made a program of it for the BBC. Somebody approached her and she agreed, not quite knowing what it was. And she made this program, which was a journey through talking to experts, talking to other people. And it helped me. It was the first time I saw a program that really resonated with my circumstance. And it was amazing and inspiring. And I thought, if I could do something like that, then that's great. What was nice was that a few months ago, she spoke at a virtual event in Warrington, and I got a ticket, and I was able to thank her personally for what she did. And that was just an amazing thing, because she so inspired me. I remembered her all those years ago, and she's done some amazing work for suicide prevention. There's a video called, it's a 20-minute video, and it's promoted by Zero Suicide Alliance, and she appears on it and she talks about what to do. And the simple message is see, say, and signpost. That's right. And it's very simple message. We can all be responsible. We can all look for these signs, because they are there, that somebody's struggling. We know, we can see it in their faces, their body language, the way they speak. And it only really takes a conversation to open up, which is about mental health first aid, really. Are you all right? And they may say fine, but then you perhaps wait a little bit and then say, are you really fine? Because I've noticed you're not your normal self. And I think that is so inspiring, to be able to have the power. You don't have to say anything after that. You just have to listen. It is as simple as that, because that person is waiting for an opportunity, hopefully, to just open up in a safe space for them to express, actually, I am struggling a bit. And that isolation that you are having grieving alone suddenly is broken. You've broken that spell, and that's really, really important.
Yeah, I can totally understand sort of everything that you've said based on my own personal experience. And I think it's really important at this point, given some of the topics that we've spoken about today around suicide and things, there is a lot of help out there. Me personally, I approached Samaritans, and they are still available on a free phone line. So I would urge anybody that's sort of struggling with that aspect to sort of contact Samaritans or similar organisations, or go to their GP.
Yeah.
So it's been really insightful today, Lisa. I think you've been a fantastic guest. But obviously people will, they may need and benefit from your help. But how can they get in touch with you, Lisa?
That's kind of you to ask. They can email me. My email is lisa@grm, M for mother, specialist.uk. That's not .uk, it's just .uk. And obviously we'll give that email at the end. I'm available on the phone. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter as well. I'm not on Instagram because although I'm a very visual person, I say grief doesn't look good visually. So.
Yes, there is that.
But I think that it's important. Yes, this is a serious subject, but it's important to laugh and to just open up and lighten up about, the more we can open up and normalize this subject, the more people are going to realize, actually, grief is a normal and natural reaction to loss. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just part of life. And death, sadly, is part of life, because we all know we're going to die. We just are not educated to equip ourselves with the right tools to deal with it when it stares us in the face.
Yeah. And that's a really poignant place to sort of end this, because life is a gift, and we are very fortunate, and we have lots of opportunities in life. And if we can get some help from people like you to help us through that grieving period and move on positively, then I'd urge people to get in touch with you, Lisa. Lisa, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you for educating us today on the importance of getting some support around grief. It's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Marie. I'm delighted you asked me, and it's been lovely to speak to you this morning. I'm very honoured and delighted to have just been able to speak a little bit more, and hopefully help and inspire some of your listeners.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lisa. Have a great day.
Thank you, Marie.
Bye.
Wishing you the same. Bye-bye.
Bye.